Welcome to Dark Feed, where once you find the feed, it finds you. This is the kind of story that lingers with you long after it's over. Not because it's gory, not because it's dramatic, but because it's quiet, confusing, slippery, the kind of mystery that seems to make less sense the more you try to explain it. It started with a missing person notice. A Canadian college student, young, smart, a traveler, last seen at a hotel in downtown Los Angeles. And at first, that's all it was. Another girl who vanished in a big American city. But then the hotel released a video.
Han elevato su clip.
And everything changed. You've probably seen it. Even if you don't recognize her name, you've seen the video. A young woman steps into an elevator. She presses multiple buttons, then waits. The doors don't close. She looks out into the hallway, steps in and out again. Then suddenly she hides, presses herself into the corner, moves like she's being watched. She peeks out, moves her hands in strange patterns, like she's trying to communicate with something just out of frame. Then she's gone. The footage ends. That woman was Elisa Lam, and what happened next would become one of the most talked about, debated, and disturbing true mysteries of the 21st century. Let's go back to the beginning. Elisa Lam was born on April 30th, 1991, in Vancouver, British Columbia. Her parents were immigrants from Hong Kong who ran a restaurant. She was smart, introspective, and deeply interested in literature and fashion. Like many college students, she struggled with mental health. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. But she didn't hide it. In fact, she kept a blog where she documented her thoughts, her feelings, and her struggles. In early 2013, Elisa decided to take a solo trip along the west coast of the United States. She traveled by herself using Amtrak and city buses. San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Cruz. She stayed in hostels and low-cost hotels. One of those was the Cecil Hotel. That name might sound familiar. The Cecil isn't just any hotel. Located in downtown LA's Skid Row district, it's infamous for its dark past. Over the decades, it had been home to suicides, murders, overdoses, and even serial killers. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, reportedly lived there during his killing spree. It was a building steeped in death. And in January of 2013, Elisa Lam checked in. She was initially assigned a shared room on the 5th floor, but after a couple of days, her roommates complained about her strange behavior. She was moved to a private room. The last confirmed sighting of Elisa was on January 31st, 2013. She was seen at a nearby bookstore called the Last Bookstore, where staff described her as friendly, talkative, and excited about buying gifts for her family. She never returned to the hotel. Her parents, who hadn't heard from her for over 24 hours, contacted LAPD. A missing persons report was filed. Police searched the Cecil Hotel. They brought in dogs. They reviewed security footage, but nothing turned up. Then, 2 weeks later, the elevator video was released, and it went viral. People from all over the world analyzed every second. Her gestures, her expressions, her body language. Was she high? Was she hallucinating? Was she running from someone or something? Internet detectives slowed the footage, reversed it, looked for glitches. Some claimed the video had been edited, that it was missing time. Others swore there was someone else in the hallway, just beyond the camera's frame. Theories exploded online. One idea was that she was being stalked, that someone was following her through the hotel. Another theory claimed she was possessed, that she was reenacting a ritual known as the elevator game, a supposed supernatural practice said to open a portal to another world. But these were just theories. The truth was still missing, until February 19, 2013. Hotel guests had begun complaining about the water. The pressure was low. The taste was off. The color dark. Some said it was black. Others said it tasted sweet. Management sent a maintenance worker to check the rooftop water tanks. What he found was a nightmare. Elisa Lam's body, naked and decomposing, floating face up in one of the hotel's 4 water tanks. For weeks, guests had been drinking, bathing, and brushing their teeth with the water from that tank. The reaction was immediate and global. How did she get up there? Why was she naked? Why was the lid closed when she was found? How did the police miss her? And beneath it all, one question. Was it an accident or something else? To reach the water tanks, you had to access a locked rooftop door, then climb a ladder. The roof had alarms, security, fences. Elisa was a petite woman. There was no evidence of a ladder or climbing equipment. No signs of forced entry. Police concluded that she had died by accidental drowning. The toxicology report showed no drugs or alcohol in her system, only her prescribed medication for bipolar disorder. Her clothes were found at the bottom of the tank. Her phone was never recovered, but that explanation didn't satisfy anyone. Not her family, not the internet, not the people who saw that elevator footage and knew something was off. There were more questions than answers. If she was having a mental health episode, how did she gain access to the roof? Why were her clothes removed? Why didn't the water tank lid show signs of tampering? And why did the LAPD not find her body during their initial rooftop search? Some said she was murdered, that the LAPD knew more than they were saying, that the video was edited to cover up the presence of someone else. Others pointed to the hotel itself. The Cecil had a reputation. It had seen death before, strange deaths, and Elisa's was just another chapter in its cursed history. Then things got even stranger. Internet users discovered a bizarre connection to a 2002 horror film called Dark Water. In the movie, a young girl drowns in a rooftop water tank of an old apartment building. Her ghost haunts the place. Elevators malfunction. Black water flows from the taps. Her name? Cecilia. The parallels were chilling. Was it coincidence, synchronicity, or something darker? Conspiracy theories emerged. Some claimed Elisa was a test subject for a government mind control program. Others believed she was the victim of a cult, a sacrifice, a symbol. In the end, no one could explain what really happened. The Cecil Hotel shut down for a time. It was rebranded, refurbished. The rooftop was sealed off. But the mystery lingered, and Elisa's name became legend. Her Tumblr blog, still online at the time, became a digital memorial, a window into her mind. She had written about isolation, about feeling invisible, about searching for meaning. In one post, months before her death, she wrote, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." Maybe she was just a young woman trying to find her place. Or maybe she found something else entirely. When I look at the elevator footage, it doesn't scare me because of what's in it. It scares me because of what isn't. There's something deeply wrong in the way she moves, the way she hides, the way she gestures. It's not panic. It's resignation. Like she knew she wasn't going to leave. Like she had seen something the rest of us can't. And when that elevator door refused to close, when it stayed open longer than any elevator should, that's when I felt it. That chill. That question. What was she waiting for? Or worse, what was waiting for her? What happened in the days between Elisa Lam's last sighting and the discovery of her body remains one of the most unsettling gaps in modern investigative history. It's not just about the missing time. It's about how so many people, police, hotel staff, guests, were so close to the truth and missed it. Let's retrace what we do know. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa failed to check out of the Cecil Hotel. Her parents, who had been in constant contact with her throughout her West Coast trip, immediately grew concerned when they didn't hear from her. That was out of character for Elisa. She called or messaged them every day. That silence on its own was the first red flag. The LAPD was contacted. Officers visited the hotel. They searched her room. They checked hallways and common areas. They interviewed staff, but they found no sign of Elisa. Her belongings were still in her room, her laptop, her prescription medication, her clothes. She had just vanished. At this point, the case still seemed grounded. Tragic, but explainable. She was a young woman alone in a dangerous city. Maybe she'd been mugged. Maybe she'd gotten into a car with the wrong person. But if that were the case, why was there no activity on her credit cards? No phone records?
No witnesses?
Then the elevator footage surfaced. When the hotel handed the surveillance video to police, it seemed like a break in the case. But when LAPD released it to the public on February 13th, the situation changed. Almost overnight, the investigation spiraled into something else, something bigger than the department could contain. The world saw that footage, and the internet lit up like a bonfire soaked in gasoline. People weren't just curious, they were obsessed. They analyzed the video frame by frame. People posted side-by-side comparisons to horror films. Some noted the timestamp had been cropped. Others insisted the video had been slowed down or edited, perhaps to conceal another figure. And then came the theories. Some viewers claimed Elisa looked like she was playing a game with someone just out of view, stepping in and out of the elevator, waving her hands. Others said it looked like she was reacting to something invisible. Her fingers moved in staccato patterns, like she was casting a spell or answering a question. The most disturbing part? The elevator door doesn't close, not for minutes. And when it finally does, it's only after Elisa walks away. It's like the hotel itself was waiting, watching, deciding. The Cecil Hotel has its own energy. You can feel it when you step inside. The air is thick, silent, like it's keeping secrets. The halls are long, the carpeting outdated, and the wallpaper is peeling in some places. And yet, there's a strange stillness to it, a coldness that lingers, even when the sun is out. Elisa's behavior in that footage could be the result of mental illness. That's what the official narrative says. But even that answer opens more questions. Let's talk about her medication. Elisa had a history of bipolar disorder and depression. She was on 4 prescription drugs: Wellbutrin, Lamictal, Seroquel, and Effexor. Her toxicology report showed trace amounts of some of them, but not all. The levels suggested she may have been under-medicating or skipping doses altogether. If you know anything about bipolar disorder, then you know that missing doses can trigger episodes. Paranoia, hallucinations, disassociation. It's possible that Elisa was in the middle of a manic or mixed episode. Possible. But even if that's true, it doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain how she got to the roof. To reach the top of the Cecil, you have to pass through a locked and alarmed door. Only staff had access. If the door was opened without a key, a loud alarm would go off. But no alarm was reported on the night Elisa disappeared. Once on the roof, Elisa would have had to climb a platform, scale a ladder, and lift a heavy metal lid to get into the tank. Keep in mind, she was 5 feet 5 inches, barely over 115 pounds. The tanks are 8 feet tall. The lids weigh around 20 pounds and are awkward to maneuver. It's not something you accidentally stumble into, but somehow she ended up inside, naked, face up, floating in darkness. Her clothes were at the bottom of the tank, covered in a sand-like particulate. Her watch and room keycard were also there. There were no bruises.
No trauma.
No signs of assault.
No alcohol.
No recreational drugs. Just Elisa, alone in the water. The autopsy ruled it an accidental drowning. But even the coroner's report raised eyebrows. It listed bipolar disorder as a contributing factor, an unusual inclusion for a case with so many unanswered questions. The time of death was left blank. And the report itself had inconsistencies, like the fact that some internal organs were not examined due to advanced decomposition, while others were listed as intact. Felt rushed, vague, incomplete. Her death became the subject of documentaries, podcasts, deep dive Reddit threads, YouTube theories, and more. But every explanation raised more questions than it answered. Let's revisit the timeline. Elisa disappears January 31st. Police search the hotel. No sign of her. The elevator video is released February 13th. Her body is found February 19th. What was happening during those 19 days? Guests were drinking the water, showering in it, complaining about it. Multiple rooms had issues with pressure and discoloration. And no one thought to check the tanks? The hotel staff claimed the lids were closed when the body was found. The maintenance worker who discovered her later said the lid was open. Those accounts conflict. Critically, if the lid was closed, how did Elisa seal herself inside? If it was open, why didn't the police dogs catch her scent on the roof? There's another theory, that someone helped her. Someone with access. Someone who could open the roof door, close the tank, leave no trace. A member of staff, or someone else living in the hotel. Keep in mind, the Cecil had become part hotel, part low-income housing. There were long-term residents who lived there year-round, some with criminal records, some with mental illnesses of their own. And here's where it gets darker. A guest staying at the Cecil at the time, on the same floor as Elisa, later claimed to hear strange noises in the night. Screaming, movement in the halls. One woman said her door handle jiggled violently around 3 a.m. one night, but when she looked out, no one was there. Another guest said she heard someone sobbing in the stairwell for over an hour, but assumed it was just another transient. No one called the police. This wasn't the kind of place where people asked questions. And Elisa, she vanished into that silence. Even today, people question whether she was targeted. Theories range from the plausible to the bizarre. Some believe she witnessed something she shouldn't have, maybe drug activity or violence, and was silenced. Others claim her death was part of a ritual, citing her initials, EL, and the hotel's dark past. Some stretch even further, drawing connections to old CIA experiments, demonic possession, or online urban legends. But maybe the scariest possibility is the most mundane. That no one noticed, no one helped. That in a building full of people, a young woman died screaming in a cold metal tank while life went on below. The ultimate horror, that we let it happen. There's one more detail worth mentioning. Elisa's phone was never found. Not in her room, not in the tank, not on her body. Gone. Deleted from existence. In today's world, a phone is a digital diary. It knows where you've been, who you've called, what you've searched. Its absence is more than suspicious, it's surgical. Did someone take it? Was it wiped? Or did Elisa destroy it herself, fearing what it contained? We don't know, but we do know this. There are pieces missing. Digital shadows erased from the timeline. Photos never recovered. Messages never found. Footage never released. What's left is a puzzle with just enough pieces to show a face, but not enough to understand what it's feeling. Elisa Lam died in a tank on a rooftop in a hotel with a history of death. But she also died in a vacuum, in a space that should have been filled with noise, with people, with cameras, with answers, and yet remained silent. And in that silence, something waits, not for discovery, but for repetition. Because Elisa wasn't the first to die at the Cecil Hotel, and she may not be the last. After Elisa Lam's body was found, the world reacted with a mix of horror, confusion, and something worse, fascination. A young woman, a viral video, a death without logic, the perfect storm for internet obsession. But if you look closely at what happened after the case was solved, you'll see that the story didn't end. It just slipped through the cracks. The ones we don't like to look into. The ones between the headlines and the hard drives. This part of the story isn't about Elisa's final steps. It's about everything we missed, everything we were never shown, and everything we never should have seen. Let's start with her digital presence. Elisa was active online. Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook. She documented her thoughts in long, introspective blog posts. She shared quotes from literature, photos from her travels, reflections on her mental health. She was deeply self-aware, intelligent, and often raw. Her Tumblr blog, Nouvelle Nouveau, remained online for months after her death. Posts appeared even after she was gone. The dates didn't make sense. Was it a cue she had scheduled in advance? Was someone else posting? Some claimed her account had been hacked. Others said it was a glitch in Tumblr's scheduling system. But the tone of the final posts felt different, less hopeful, more cryptic. Phrases like, "I'm not going home. I'm trying to disappear. Silence is the loudest scream." It's easy to read too much into someone's words after they're gone. But these weren't whispers of depression. They were signals, fractured, reaching, like she knew she was slipping beneath the surface and wanted someone to notice. But no one did, not in time. There's another detail that rarely gets mentioned. The camera footage from inside the hotel. We've all seen the elevator video, but what about the hallways? The stairwells? The roof? The lobby? Cecil Hotel had security cameras, multiple floors, multiple angles, but only one clip was ever released to the public. Just one. Why? According to police, the rest of the footage either didn't show anything of value or didn't exist. But hotel employees claimed otherwise. One former desk clerk anonymously stated that cameras in the lobby were functional and recording. Another staff member said they were instructed not to talk to media or investigators about the rooftop access system. Something had changed at the Cecil. The narrative had already taken hold. Elisa was unstable. She climbed into the tank. She died by accident. Case closed. Except it wasn't. The Lams filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the hotel in September of 2013. They alleged negligence, that the Cecil had failed to secure access to the roof and water tanks. The hotel's defense? That Elisa's death was unpredictable, that she had climbed into the tank of her own volition, that they bore no responsibility. In 2015, the court sided with the hotel. Legally, the case was over, but culturally, it had just begun. New theories surfaced. Some pointed to the elevator game again, a Korean urban legend about a ritual where, by pressing a series of buttons, you can travel to another dimension. A shadow world. The video showed her pressing multiple buttons in a seemingly random sequence. Was she trying to escape something or find something? Others tied Elisa to an ongoing tuberculosis outbreak in LA's homeless population at the time of her death. The name of the test used to detect the strain? LMLEA. A real test, real coincidence, or something else. This isn't conspiracy for the sake of spectacle. This is a case with too many loose threads and no one willing to pull them. And then came the final nail, the Netflix documentary Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Released in 2021, the series attempted to tie a bow around the chaos. It interviewed hotel staff, internet sleuths, and law enforcement. It concluded that Elisa's death was tragic, but explainable. That her mental illness caused her to behave irrationally. That no one else was involved. It painted internet theorists as obsessive, dangerous, and in some cases that was true. One man, Morbid, a musician from Mexico, was wrongly accused online of murdering Elisa. Why? Because he had stayed at the hotel a year prior and posted dark-themed music videos. His life was destroyed. Death threats, doxing, isolation. The documentary blamed the chaos on the internet. But the real blame sits in the gaps, the unanswered calls, the missing footage, the ignored alarms. That's where the horror lives. Because this wasn't just about Elisa. It was about us. Our failure to protect the vulnerable. Our appetite for mystery. Our obsession with making the incomprehensible feel tidy. We didn't want the truth. We wanted a story. And we got one. But not the right one. Let me tell you what I think happened. I think Elisa knew she wasn't safe. I think something happened that night in the hotel, something that made her run. Whether it was a person, a hallucination, or something else entirely, she fled. I think she took the stairs. That's why the elevator never moved. I think she found her way to the roof one way or another. And I think, in those last moments, something convinced her she had no way out. Maybe she believed she was hiding. Maybe she believed she was escaping. Maybe she believed she was already gone. People say the Cecil Hotel is cursed, that it draws people in and chews them up. And maybe that's true. But maybe the real curse is simpler. It's indifference. The kind that lets someone disappear in plain sight. The kind that lets cameras keep recording while no one watches. The kind that leaves a body in a water tank while people drink from the tap. That's the real horror. The absence of answers. The presence of silence. Elisa Lam died alone in one of the most watched cities in the world. Surrounded by people, security, staff, strangers, and no one saw, except us, later, on a screen, unable to help, and haunted by the fact that maybe, just maybe, something else did see her. Not a person, not a killer, but something that lives in the in-between, between the floors, between the footage, between the frames, something watching through the glass darkly, and waiting,